But you never know that you could. And when you feel that way, ain't it good, good dancing in the red and gold. Dancing in the red and gold.
That's right, baby. We're back. Normal service has resumed. Welcome to the 49er Faithful UK Live. I am, of course, Paul Hope.
I suppose that would make me Little Ludlam.
Man, does it feel good to be back. Yes, I've returned from the sunnier climate to the cold, damp northeast of England. But, Nick, 2 pre-season games in the book.
No.
There's only one more left to go, people, until the NFL season starts, which also means the countdown to the London meetup begins. Sources tell me, Nick, it's about 54 days approximately till the London meetup. Not that I'm counting, but before we get into all things 49ers and I go over to these good people in the comments, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Yeah, it's been very good, thanks, mate. Enjoyed a nice extended weekend off. I haven't been off on my hollybobs like you. I've stayed in sunny Swansea the last 4 days, so I can't complain. How was the holiday, mate?
Yeah, it was really good. So I feel a bit like Eric Oregard. So obviously went to Tenerife with the family, came back for a couple of days, then went off to Mallorca. We did forget, Nick, to tell the good people about when I was in Tenerife. I was at the safari park. I got very excited when I saw a gentleman with a 49ers hat on, rushed over, introduced myself. He clearly didn't speak English. I clearly didn't speak German, but the pointing to the logos on our hats, the thumbs up, and I just thought I had to share that because my good lady Tracy was like, I can't take you anywhere, Paul, without seeing another 49ers fan. But didn't see anyone in Mallorca. Saw a guy in the airport with a Rodgers 8 New York Jets jersey on. So I had a little bit of banter with him. Funnily enough, saw a guy wearing an old school Welker Patriots jersey in what was about 40 degrees heat. So it wasn't the attire that I want. Now I'm going to break tradition. And James, I'm going to put your comment on, which isn't the first comment of the night. But just to clarify, I'm not in the naughty corner for those people who did see. I was representing the 49ers. I always have my 49ers wallet and lanyard with me. But for those eagle-eyed people, Nick, I didn't take too many 49ers clothing away with me on this holiday. One, because it was too hot. But rest assured, I was always repping with a cap. And you will have probably saw that I met up with a certain Mr. Gowland in Parma.
I know. Look at that. He goes all that way. They have a meeting and they didn't even invite us.
No, so we represented, we had the flag. We got the flag outside the cathedral at Parma. Lee came fully decked out in red and gold. So I did let the team down there. I just had my residency cap on. But it feels pretty good to be back, buddy. I've tried to cram as much in these last 48 hours of 49ers news. Where do we start, mate? Do we start with the quarterback? Do we start with the cornerback? Do we start with the fans fighting in the stands? There seems to be a lot I haven't fully caught up on yet.
There has been a lot going on, of course, since you've been away, Paul. There's been, like I said, 2 whole pre-season games. I think, considering when the last show was, we'd be remiss if we didn't start with the Raiders game. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, it was pre-season. Second of all, I'm glad I was on holiday and I didn't have to watch that game live.
True.
It's always bittersweet when you watch a game back and you already know the result. Tenerife, I did a LeBron James and I went in total blackout because I promised Tracy that. Mallorca, I was waiting for some personal news, some family news. So I had my phone a little bit more and I was checking for Nick Bosa. Not going to lie. Tracy knew on that. But I did see bits on Twitter. Since I've returned, I've watched the game. Now, 49ers fans, I'm not aiming this at anyone in particular, but we always shout loud, Nick, about giving players reps, about seeing the second choice, seeing the third choice, letting these guys see the field. It's pre-season. The Raiders won their Super Bowl and will celebrate that long into the night. You don't get any prizes in pre-season. As the Ravens found out, their undefeated record has come to an end. But for me, I don't think it was as bad as what people made out. Obviously, watching it back if you've come for deep dive analysis, this isn't the show for you, because me and Nick get too distracted by the comments. But in regards to how Trey played, yes, he struggled. The O-line struggled. Obviously, you never want to lose. But in general, I wasn't too hung up about it. What did you make of the Raiders game?
Yeah, like everyone else, it was an abysmal showing. There's little to no positives really to take from the game. The only thing it left me with was the hope that it would get better. And I suppose that's where it comes on to the next point for us. We've had the second game of preseason. We had the game against Denver, and things did improve. Things got infinitely better. And I know you say you caught a little bit more of that one. So come on in, Mr. Hope. What did you think of the game against the Broncos?
Well, as I said at the start of the show, for people listening now, Simon, apologies. Yes, we were a little late, but I have been told that good things come to those who wait. Slight technical issue backstage, but we're here. Matthew, you weren't too early. And unfortunately, we weren't waiting. Well, we are waiting for the Nick Bosa news. We're expecting you people to keep us updated, because if that breaks, whatever me and Nick are talking about, we will scrap. But as we are talking now at 12 minutes past 8 in the UK, Bosa hasn't signed. Now, the Broncos game, as I said, mate, feeling pretty good. It was great to see the starting QB out there. The way he rolled out that pocket and just fizzed that ball out. I thought, okay, maybe talk of his demise was a little premature. Heart in my mouth when TDP missed that block and Brock decided to run and then check back inside. I had visions of Jimmy versus the Kansas City Chiefs all over again. And like Kyle Shanahan said better than me, I was wanting Brock to hit that deck. I did not want to see him getting battle tested.
Go down.
Deebo Samuel is looking like the Deebo Samuel from 2021. He's looking a bit leaner. He's looking a bit meaner. The 2 screen passes that he caught from Brock definitely got me excited. Then it was kind of a little bit, Russell Wilson started to move around a little bit. And then obviously the game, for a preseason game, given how I've just said, I don't care whether we win or lose, even though I knew the result of this one, I was glued to the TV watching it. And yes, I was watching on DAZN, which fingers crossed at the moment, I've had no issues with. But for me, it was great to see Kyle kind of let Trey get into that rhythm. I think we've established that Trey Lance is a rhythm quarterback. He did struggle. There's a lot of talk that Darnold came in and looked better. But for me, that fourth quarter, my new crush. And some would say that's a Jimmy G jersey behind. That's a Ronnie Bell jersey. Number 10. The new love of the
You're going to show us the back of the jersey then, Paul?
Not live, because I'm hooked up, mate.
Right,
headphones and that
on,
so. But, little tongue-in-cheek joke there. I never thought I'd get use out of that number 10 jersey again, but maybe I just take the name, play it off the back. But Jake Moody bounced back. I know there was a lot of talk that he struggled against the Raiders. It was good to see him a little closer than I would have liked. At first glance, I thought he'd missed it. But a win's a win. Victory Tuesday. It's our first victory in the preseason. I thought the team looked better, which is what you always want to see in preseason. And I was quite happy, mate. What did you make of the game?
Yeah, I mean, as for the actual final scoreline, look, the only person the final scoreline should matter to is Trey Lance. It shouldn't matter to the rest of us. It shouldn't even matter really to the rest of the team. It's going to give Trey that confidence. It's the manner in which he managed to pull that back, that final drive. That was good for him. Other than that, the scoreline's pointless. The big thing really for the whole team is that there was improvement all around. Absolutely all around. I thought the linebackers were fantastic. McCrary Ball looked great. D Winter looked great. The future is looking good there. Should anything happen with injuries, it looks like we've got some players that can really come in and plug those gaps, and there won't be too much of a drop off. There's always going to be a drop off from Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner, but those two look tidy. That battle for LB3 is looking like it's going to be a fun one. I think you could pretty much toss a coin at this point as to who it's going to be. There's some people are saying it's going to be D Winter. Some people are saying it's going to be McCrary Ball. Whichever comes in, it's looking good. As for Ronnie Bell, he was very up and down in that first game. I think you can almost put him as a positive and a negative for the Raiders game. But for the Broncos game, he really showed out. he showed he's got the hands. He needs to be able to concentrate a bit more, and I think that will come with experience. But I had a conversation, I can't remember who it was with now, during the game on Twitter, and it's almost like a mini Debo. With the way he comes through, that the Yak brothers have got another member. It's looking good, and especially now when you've got Gray's gone down. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. It looks like we have 4 decent wide receivers. We've still got third down one. We already know what he can do. Now you've got Ronnie Bell coming in. It does pose some interesting questions. In fact, I want to pose a hypothetical situation. Admittedly, I know with this, there's a lot of things that are going to need to happen for this to become a selling point, really, at any point. But let's say Ayuk goes and has himself another 1,000-yard season. Debo has another great season. But Ronnie Bell comes through and is looking good. Well, at what point do you think, well, there's a way of extending the window here? Because maybe we trade Debo, get ourselves a couple of first-round picks, maybe a little bit more. I'm not saying now, I'm not saying at the end of this season, or I'm not even saying at the end of next season, but maybe 2 to 3 years down the road, if you want to extend that window and open up some of that salary cap, you've got Ronnie Bell on a rookie contract. You've got your new WR1 in Brandon Ayuk, who's proving himself. And if everything keeps moving forward, it's a potential scenario that we could be looking at to extend that Super Bowl window. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think if Tracy is watching downstairs, she's about to block you again after all your good work, because she just bought me a Deebo Samuel figurine for my birthday. I've got an Ayuk jersey and I've got a number 10 jersey hung up. I don't want any of them to go. All jokes aside, it is a good question to ask, but I do think we need to pump the brakes on number 10 a little. That's why I've got the jersey hung up a bit tongue-in-cheek. He looked good. Not going to say he wasn't. His 7 receptions for 114 yards. He was effective on screens, crosses, deep outs, which is our staple out of the Shanahan system. And his work as a blocker was no joke. But equally, it is the preseason. Now, if we're sat here, Lick, in 6 months' time, and that's translated into the NFL season, I would be delighted. Obviously, there's a lot of talk in the comments, which we're going to get to, about could he be used slightly different. Danny Gray's injured now. And we're going to see Ronnie Bell used not as a wide receiver, but as a punt returner, as a kick returner. But me and you have been consistent since we started this show of ours. We've been saying to people, it's exciting to be a 49ers fan. Now, we were excited before preseason with Kittle, with Ayuk, with Debo, with CMC, with Jennings. Now you're adding in Ronnie Bell, and you're just looking around the league, and we've got an embarrassment of riches. I loved that Debo Samuel and Ayuk have grown into that veteran role. I saw a Debo Samuel interview when I returned where I think Larry Kruger or someone, friend of the show, asked Debo about his relationship with Ronnie Bell. And they said, me and Brandon have embraced that role, and with being the big brother. And like you said, to compliment to Ronnie Bell, that he's been nicknamed Debo Light or Diet Debo. And let's face it, if he can be half as good as Debo and Brandon, we've unearthed a gem. And as Jason Aponte was saying earlier, if we'd taken Ronnie Bell in the 3rd round at pick 99 on this form, it would have been a steal. And if we'd taken Moody instead of Bell in the 7th round, so if you flip those round, if you think about where we got Bell in the draft, again, it just goes to show the 49ers scouting staff have done their work. I know Breezy was high on Bell because he's a Michigan boy, but Nick, it's too early to be hitting me with those would you rathers, buddy.
Yeah, no would you rather. It's just a nice hypothetical. It's a nice problem to have. It's a problem that we didn't have for a long time. We spent a long time overpaying older receivers. Not knocking the likes of Anquan Bolden, not knocking the likes of Pierre Garçon. They were good receivers, but we were having to overpay to bring these players in, and they weren't really at the level at which we were paying them because we were trying to get back to being a decent team again. All of a sudden, like you said, we have this embarrassment of riches on offense, and it's brilliant to see. We do need a little bit less of Ronnie's wide hands, because that interception, it's 100%. It's a good pass. Sam Darnold nailed it. That was a laser straight towards him. There's no excuse for someone playing at that level. But that'll come with time. You know,
Yeah.
he certainly had one of the better sets of preseason games from a lot of the rookies. Not many of them can say that they actually have positives from both games, and he's one of the few that can.
So, as we alluded to at the start of the show, everybody, I've been away. So Nick set the schedule for tonight's show. So when he asked me about the Broncos game, I had to bear in mind some of these topics were going to come up. But now we've kind of loosely talked about it. The backup offensive line is a little bit of a concern. I'm not going to spend too long on that, Nick, but given the abysmal performance against the Raiders, and like I said at the start, it's pre-season, we want to see these players get better. And as Cubs has put there, the Raiders game was difficult to watch. It was difficult to find the positives. The only positive I will say is these backup players need the reps, as we've seen with Trey, as we've seen with Jake Moody. So again, everyone, it's pre-season. Let the Raiders celebrate. We'll be celebrating in that stadium at the end of the season. Mark my words. You know how confident we're feeling. And just before you start, Nick, got a few people in the comments. So I did catch your show with Ted. When I returned from holiday, I had your show with Ted. I think Ted's show with Lee. I had the 49erFaithfulUK pods. And then I caught a couple of Jason and Wayne shows today. So I am catching up. Normal service has resumed. As you said to me last night in my DM, your Twitter notifications have slowly increased.
They have. All of a sudden, I know Paul's back from holiday. All of a sudden, my Twitter's going a bit mental. Oh, no, sorry, X is this called now, isn't it? But I know people have been quick to get on these backups for the offensive line. If they were better than this, they wouldn't be backups on our team. They'd likely be starters on another team. So, I mean, there's a lot of teams around the league that are having the same issues with these backups. However, there is one man who is getting a lot of love, and that's Ilan Manning. And deservedly so. I mean, he destroyed, was it Randy Gregory, who is a former first-round pick. He's no slouch. He's a decent player. He has his issues. We all know that. But he absolutely destroyed him. All right, it's one play. You can't take one play out of context. But we're now looking at a point where Manning might actually have to get a place on the 53-man squad because he's played that well that he's liable to get picked up if we try to stash him. And I had the same worries with Jack Coletto. I don't think we're going to have the problem of there. I think we're going to be able to stash him just fine. But Ilan Manning, that's looking like a bit of a proper find, a real gem in the rough there. I don't know what you were still thinking around him.
Yeah, I mean, again, like we said, the backup offensive line hasn't played very well as a unit. As I was traveling, I had the latest issue of Gridiron, the preview magazine. So Tracy had a book, Nick. I was doing my homework. There was an article in there about Rodgers and the Jets, and they were talking about certain teams. And the offensive line was featured in most of these magazines that I was reading. The Bengals, they were talking about Joe Burrow and how he's shot through the roof last year because the offensive line as a unit has got better. And what was interesting, they were saying that the Bengals had gone from being one of the worst in the league to mid-table. That's what they were looking at. They didn't need to be top of the table because Burrows is an elite quarterback. And it got me thinking about the 49ers. Now, you asked about Manning. I've saw the bits on Twitter. I've saw the love from the likes of Brad Graham. If Brad Graham says he's a good offensive lineman, that's the only stamp of approval that I need. But there was a lot of talk, Nick, on the other side of McKivitz. And I thought he played well against the Broncos.
Exactly.
Now, the worry I think people are concerned about is because we've won, and we won with a walk-off field goal. You look at the offensive line, and it allowed only 3 sacks against the Broncos, but it was that stream of pressure that was consistent. Now, Manning physically doesn't hit the stereotype. Apparently, he's got small arms. Apparently, he may be better used on the inside. But you're right. If you take away some of the positives, which is we might have another key piece to sit behind the starters, and if he can get better, look at what happened with Spencer Burford. McKivitz, he's not a rookie. He's come and he's sat in for a year. And you're right. I think pre-season, we all fall in love with these players. You know, I've just started on Hard Knocks. And yes, the Jets are a bit of a distraction. I watched Brick by Brick earlier. And as Jason's put there, getting football crazy. It never stops. Of course, it doesn't stop. But to answer your question, he looks good. I don't think we've got any worries. I don't think he's been lights out where another team will give up a player. Because like you said, the NFL, 53 spots? Everybody's in the same boat, buddy. But we've got to try and stash some of these people on the practice squad.
I get that. I just don't see, after the performance, I don't see how we can stash him. And I watched an interview he did. I can't remember who he did the interview with now. Sorry, my memory's proper failing me at the moment. And he said in the interview, he spent almost the entire of the pre-draft process training as a center and as a guard. So he has got the experience and he's got some know-how to cover that entire interior of the offensive line. And that's going to be a big bonus for him. If the Niners do decide, you know what, we're not going to be able to stash this kid, he can cover guard, he can cover center. And that's going to be a big positive for him moving forward, even if they decide to do that. And hell, if he can cover all the positions across the offensive line, what a weapon to have. You know, what a player to be able to introduce in if needs be. He can cover across the board.
Yeah, definitely. So, Cubs is new to watching live, which we appreciate. I know you tend to watch back, but the Broncos game was more encouraging. Didn't like that Sam came out for the third quarter. I've got to say, I wasn't a fan of that, but Trey's fourth quarter drive was pretty good. And what I did want to say before we disappear down the rabbit hole of the quarterbacks, Nick, first and foremost, I'm a fan of the 49ers. This time last year, I was fully behind Trey Lance. I made some statements that I still stand by. Some of my non-49ers friends will be watching, and they hit me with that stick. Now, as we've said consistently on this show, we don't care who's under centre. We support the team. If it's Brock, if it's Trey, if it's Sam. Now, equally, Kyle Shanahan is more qualified than me to pick the quarterback for his system. What I will say, in my opinion, as it stands at the moment, it's clearly Brock Purdy number 1. It's Trey Lance number 2. It's Sam Darnold number 3. In my eyes, I think Trey did enough in that fourth quarter to elevate him up there. Sam Darnold's been in the league for what feels like forever. 55 starts, hasn't really ripped up the league. So for me, I think he was always the insurance policy. I haven't seen anything that blows me away. I didn't like the fourth quarterback when he came in against the Broncos. When he was wearing number 4, I was like, okay, random. And then the interception, and no, I think he's gone. I think we keep him on the practice squad, and I think we keep Darnold as that extra QB.
The insurance QB,
yeah.
We all know we're going to run with 3.
Yeah. So as Simon put there, all 3 QBs had scoring drives. Lance played good. Happy with all. And I think we're all shocked, Nick, how well Purdy has bounced back. And what were your thoughts on the QBs? I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. The entire talk on social media had been about how many picks and interceptions Brock had thrown. There was practically a ticker going on with the volume that he had. And he had thrown a fair few. But it doesn't matter how many you throw in practice. What matters is how many you throw in games. And the ones in preseason almost don't count either, because it matters what you do against the first string starting offense of the other 31 teams in the league. Once you get into it, it was really, really good to see that he's still in there. That the kid is he is hyper focused on moving forward, and he had a good showing. Yeah, he looked tidy. It looked like he just picked off from the divisional round. He looked good. He looked sharp, and I was really happy. Like everyone else, I was screaming at my television for him to hit the deck when TDP missed that block. Honestly, I haven't screamed "get down" that loud in a very long time. You know, it was scary. I was envisioning so much worse when he cut back inside again. I had those Jimmy G vibes from the Kansas game. That again, that's PTSD, I think, more than anything. But okay, at least what it has shown is that he can get hit. It showed him he can get hit and he can get back up and carry on. That he's not going to get hurt straight away, because whenever you get an injury, you know yourself, when you started playing flag after you hurt your leg, those first few games, it's in the back of your mind. It might not be something you're actually thinking about straight away, oh my God, my leg's going to give way as you're lining up. But it's there. You're going to be hesitant and things. But he didn't look hesitant. You know, he looked good. I was really impressed by Brock. Sam's a bit of an odd one because, all right, he hasn't blown the world away, but he hasn't looked horrific. Again, he's been playing against lesser quality defenses, so it's been easy enough for him to have better games. But he looks like he can handle the system, which is all you want from what you and I are both assuming is going to be that insurance QB is QB3. You know, he's going to be that extra player dressed on the sideline that we're allowed to have now. But Brock, with the Trey thing, that was the really encouraging part. He showed that he can bounce back from what was an awful showing against the Raiders, and he can step it up. You know, that final couple of drives, which stemmed from Ayuk's mistake on the sideline, running on to celebrate for his guy scoring, it showed that he can do it. It's going to give him so much confidence leading into the next week. I would like to see, I say, Brandon Allen, no snaps against the Chargers. Absolutely none, not a single one. Maybe Darnold coming on for the final quarter. I'd want to see Brock in for 2, maybe 3 drives. That's it. But the rest of the game, Trey. That's what I'd like to see next week because I want him to be able to build on this. I am firmly in the camp that Brock is going to be our starter moving forward for years to come. I think he can be that good. I think he can lead this team. But if that's the case, then you've got to figure out what you're going to do with Trey. So I want him to do well. I still wouldn't play Brock in week 1. I would still play Trey week 1. Even though I think Brock is going to be the man moving forward, I still would rather have Trey. I think he's the better quarterback right now to be playing week 1. I think he should be able to deal with the Steelers pass rush probably a little bit better, I think. I'll feel a little bit more comfortable with him at QB1 that particular game. And it'll raise his trade value. When it comes to it, because he's not going to want to sit as a backup. You know, he has shown throughout his entire college career that he's not going to be content with sitting on the sidelines. He rejected big colleges back in college that wanted him to trade positions. Is that no, I am a quarterback. I am Trey Lance. I am a quarterback. I am not switching positions. I am not going to go play wide receiver. I am not going to switch to defense. I'm not going to do any of that. And that showed the tenacity of the young man at the time. He's not going to have lost that. So he's never going to be happy as our backup. So the best thing that can happen now is that both he and Brock ball out. And one of them eventually gets traded, and we get a lot back of what we ended up trading to get Trey in the beginning. So we can get those picks back. And, that's at some point we're going to have to retool. These players aren't getting any younger. And we can crack on and hopefully try and keep this Super Bowl window open as long as possible.
Now, I have seen a lot of talk on social media about Camp Trey, Camp Brock, Camp Jimmy. And it saddens me to see 49ers fans falling out. I had a taste in my DMs come back from holiday and some guy went after me. I think he saw a show that was on with Ted or he misunderstood something that I'd said. And I just wanted to clarify that I'm a 49ers fan. And at the end of the day, I was high on Trey Lance, high on Brock Purdy. If Kyle came out tomorrow and said Sam Darnold was number 1, probably wouldn't rush out and buy a 14 jersey at this stage. However, the narrative from this side of the pond is we're 49ers fans. Yeah. I am very biased. I will always go in and think my team can win. And one thing Tracy said to me on holiday, and she's going to kill me for sharing this with you, Nick. So when I was chatting to the guy who was a Jets fan, Tracy said, it was nice to see you talking with that passion and that kind of enjoyment. And I said, this is why I love the NFL. I can talk to all fans of the NFL. I can go to the pub, to the bar, for you guys in the States, with a Seahawks fan. We could sit there and watch the game together. Obviously, if the 49ers lose at the time, I'm as gutted as the next man. But I can't control that. So I get on with my day-to-day life the next day. It doesn't affect the rest of my life. And same with the QB battle. We knew coming into camp, Kyle and John said Brock was number 1. And the backup battle was there. And at the moment, it's still wide open. Like you said, we've got the Chargers next. We still don't know whether Kyle's going to put the starters out because he likes to do normally. Normally put the starters out. Is there going to be a narrative if Trey runs out with the starters? Is that going to be the talk of, right, Trey Lance is starting QB week 1? Kyle might play Houdini on us and put Brandon Allen out there for the first start. I might put Sam Darnold. But a few people in the comments are probably getting a bit upset about how we've played. And again, here, the backup should never have to all play at once. Kyle made us believe that Compton was serviceable, so he should be able to make one of the backups if the rest of the starters there. And that's what I mean. When you asked me to start the show, wanted to hammer home, it's pre-season. Just enjoy the football. I've enjoyed seeing the highlight reels from around the league. There was a QB, was it for the Jaguars? The Cowboys looked like they were about to sack him, and he did a Patrick Mahomes style ball in the back of the end zone. He's not going to be starting over Trevor Lawrence, but I enjoyed that highlight. I've enjoyed seeing the reels around the league. Obviously, fantasy football season is in full swing. Now, I believe we play the Chargers, I want to say Friday night, but it'll be early hours on the Saturday morning for us in the UK. When you said next week, I'm pretty sure. Is it this Friday or is it next Friday?
It's coming up. Do you know what? I know it's Saturday. I don't know if it's early hours of Saturday morning or it's Saturday night. If I'm being truthful, I knew it was Saturday, and that was about it.
And again, as James has put there, it was fantastic to see the faithful taking over the stadium in Las Vegas, like we will for the Super Bowl.
It was red.
We are the best road game fans in the NFL. We're joined by another Welshman, the notorious Gav, has put that he believes the Broncos will pick up your crush, Jack Palermo. He said that Sean Payton tried to sign the jackhammer before he decided to join the Niners. Wouldn't surprise me. I did enjoy seeing 33 run it into the end zone for a touchdown. It was, again, whoever's QB, Kyle Shanahan will scheme wide open players. That touchdown shot. He strolled into that end zone untouched.
Oh, it was easy.
So, and then Bryant disagrees with the notorious Gav. He believes 33 makes the team. Okay. I've been asked this a few times. So the UK faithful flag, Lee Gowland, El Presidente, normally puts an order in. He has been on his holidays. Once the next order goes out, for those people who aren't on Facebook, I will put a tweet out and then you can send me the details and we'll tell you how you can pay for the flag and we can ship the flag both internally in the UK and internationally, because I know they're the hot commodity, Nick. It's always great when people ask.
Everywhere. We have got them all over the world. I mean, we've got one in Singapore. We're lucky Larry Kruger flies his flag. Ted's obviously flying the flag for us as well. Yeah, they're all over.
And your good friend Mike, who left the last show with a very big impression, has put, have a great show, guys. You'll have to watch later as he's working. And that reminds me.
Have a good one, Mike.
If you are watching back and it's not live, please do drop us a like, a subscribe, a comment. We are trying to grow the channel. Somebody did go after me on Twitter recently, Nick, saying we only have so many subscribers. We only have so many watch hours. And as Tracy said, if you don't have haters, so we're doing something right. So we've got our first trolls out there. It was a little surprising to see them in my DMs, but in general, I think we're well received on this side of the pond. Jason, I can appreciate, as I said, if the Niners lose, don't get me wrong, I do get upset about it, but I love the NFL, and I'm not going to criticize anyone for the fandom. I'm just saying how it is for me. Born and bred in England, grew up with the English Premier League, ended up hating football toward the end of my time, Nick. That's why I like the NFL. I got sick of the tribalism. I got sick of the so-called banter. I got sick of the negativity around it, and I fell in love with the NFL. And come the first week of the season, I will have Red Zone on. I will not move off that sofa. Poor Tracy puts up with a lot, but she knows NFL Sundays is my day. I'll have all my fantasy teams set. And it isn't just the 49ers. I have an interest in the league. But Cubs has put there, it is this Friday. So I believe it's early hours for them, Friday morning.
So it's going to be early hours. That's fine with that.
I probably won't watch live. I'll be honest, it's pre-season. Again, I'm kind of superstitious. I don't watch the pre-season games live. I don't. I watch them back. Why change the habit of a lifetime? So I watch them back. But when it comes to the regular season, you know me, mate. I'm up all hours. Never miss a game in the season.
Yeah.
But
holidays are already booked for any Sunday primetime game, Tuesday mornings for the Monday night football, Fridays for the Thursday night football. They're already booked off.
So you are the man in charge with the schedule. You said that. I'm sticking to that. So what's next on your list, Nick?
Oh, well, let's see. I mean, obviously, we're looking ahead to the Chargers game. That's what comes out. So we're looking at a few injuries. There's quite a few listed as questionable on the injury report now as of this week. We've got Kittle, though he did practice yesterday. Drake Greenlaw is expected back at some point this week. Jeremy McNichols, obviously the new running back, signed just last week, just in time to play against the Broncos, is unlikely to play against the Chargers. Probably really affects his chances of making the 53, especially now the Niners have gone and signed Hill as well. So he's probably going to be taking then McNichols snaps Saturday morning for us, Friday night in the States. Danny Gray picked up a bit of a nasty injury. It did look like it was going to be a really bad one. They did fear a broken collarbone at first, but it's been downgraded to a sprain. We don't know how long he's going to be out for, which again, I think probably increases the importance of Ronnie Bell's emergence, which is good. Kerry Hyder is again listed as questionable moving forward as well. Of course, since the last show, we've lost Ray McLeod. He's out for at least 8 weeks. And it looks like Taco Charlton, who was signed during the preseason, is out for the year on IR. But, of course, there have been a few signings. We've gone and signed Anthony Miller as of yesterday. And there was quite a bit of love for Anthony Miller. In fact, a lot of people saying the same things, that they wanted him drafted instead of Pettis a few years back. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. Again, Brian Hill's been re-signed following the injury to McNichols. And then there's obviously a load of depth pieces signed, waived, multiple things going on there. But obviously, Chargers coming up now Saturday. What are you looking forward to seeing on Saturday?
First and foremost, speak it into existence. No injuries. I want to see Kyle Shanahan get the team ready for the start of the season. We are notorious for slow starters. And if we lose in Pittsburgh, 49ers Twitter, which I have a lot of love for X, Twitter, whatever you call it. I think it's helped grow our brand. It's helped grow our group. It's helped connect me with the numerous content creators that I like to shout out and show the love. But recently I've seen a side that I'm not so much of a fan of. And it worries me a little bit, to be fair, because we all love the 49ers. We all want the 49ers to win. Yes, me and you have a weekly show. The breaking news I put across the bottom. I was going to wind the people up with the Miller news because I saw that before I came live. I was going to say there's been a contract, and then I was going to wind people up with the Bosa. But for me, mate, I just don't get certain aspects of 49ers Twitter want to be right so badly. I'd rather see the team struggle. I'd rather be wrong every single week on the show of ours and the Niners win. And like I said, I make no apologies. I'm biased. All my friends who are non-49ers fans wind me up to see you've got those red and gold rose-tinted glasses on. But I counteract. They're the same with their football teams, as in their soccer, English football teams. I'm in the group chat. 99% of the talk is about English football. And I just sit back. And they've got those same glasses on when they talk to their teams. But for pre-season against the Chargers, obviously, the cornerback position is something that I wanted to talk about tonight. Don't know if you had that on your schedule. So
let's go for it.
Oliver was a key piece in free agency at the time. A lot of people thought. Kyle Shanahan has come out, and so has the new defensive coordinator, Steve Wilkes, and said he hasn't really set the world on fire. There's talk even, Nick, that we could get rid of him, could cut him. Obviously, we know Javarius Ward and Lenore are the starters. I know the lads on the pod went live without me and Lee, and there was a lot of hate directed towards Sammy Womack. I'm not just buttering up to El Presidente because I've been on holiday for a day with him. I thought Womack played well. Wilkes has come out and said, yes, he was disappointed that Womack didn't get the pick, but in essence, he's playing well. And I think there's a bit of competition behind the two starters, buddy, in that cornerback room. Obviously, we are biased on this side of the pond. We want Womack to be in there. I know he's upset El Presidente changing from 26 to 0. So if you are watching, Mr. Womack, if you could send a new 0 jersey over for El Presidente, that would go down well. But What do you make of the cornerbacks? Because the Niners have shown that they're not scared to move off from people. So if Oliver isn't what they thought it was going to be, yes, there'd be a bit of a cap hit, but we're not in the cap hell that the Rams are. I don't think we're cutting him just yet, but do you think I'm on the right page, or do you think I'm reading too much into what Kyle and Wilkes have said?
I don't think I wouldn't be too surprised if Isaiah Oliver isn't on the 53. There is a fair amount of talk with Ambry Thomas's reemergence about him coming and playing corner on the other side for Travarius Ward, and then actually moving Lenore back down to playing nickel. So there are plenty of options still available in which you have those three of them all on there. It's a fun problem to have. Again, we're talking about players that are playing well. You got these youngsters have come in, and the one thing we wanted from Wilkes was that jump in the cornerback play. We've had the jump on the D line, we've had the jump from the linebackers. Now we want that jump from the DBs, and hopefully this is the start of that. And I say, Ambry Thomas's reemergence is nice to see, because he'd fallen. And we were at a point where we were wondering if we were ever going to see him again. And he's done well. Up until this weekend, I had Lenore down as absolutely dead set. 150% was going to be the other cornerback opposite Ward. I'm less sure of that now. But again, it's a good thing, because the scenario that's been put in front of us is that you've got Ambry's going to come in and play that cornerback slot, hopefully play it well. And Lenore, he's going to do well playing down in the nickel slot, because that's originally what he was brought in to do. That was his initial job, and he just played so damn well. He ended up taking the starting corner job of his own right. He got lucky with E-Man's injury, but at the end of the day, he was awesome at the end of last season. But it's a good problem to have. These players are coming back and doing well.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, jumping all over what we're known for. We said Wilkes would blitz more. He designed different packages, which we saw against the Broncos. The brick by brick that I watched just before we came live, there was a section with Wilkes and Hufanga, and it was good to see him coaching Hufanga. And he isn't taken away from Hufanga's instincts, but you're right. The reason we went for Wilkes was to develop these young cornerbacks. Like you said, Thomas has flashed. I think they've all flashed in pre-season at different levels. And that's why I wanted to mention it tonight, because we don't need Ward to make a step up. We just need Ward to be exactly what he was last year. I think Lenore is the starter, given how he ended last year. But I think, like you said, Nick, behind them at the moment, you can't really say Oliver's guaranteed, or Warmark, or Thomas. And then you've got the undrafted free agent, Jameson. I mean, he has struggled in part at nickel, but otherwise he's played well. And I've seen his name bandied about on there. Now, I'm not going to give a wild prediction of the 53-man roster at this point. As Nick has said at the start of the show, we're back every Tuesday, baby. We wanted to ease back into this. We had a lot to catch up on. Now, Nick, what is next on your schedule? Am I right in thinking it might be time?
It's that time. I think it's that time. I'm seeing that ticker going along. We're up to 44 minutes. It's time, baby. It's time for Would You Rather. And seeing as you are back off your hollybobs, I am relying on the sunshine to have chilled you out a bit, so that I can have a nice restful sleep this evening before I start my first day back at work myself tomorrow. So would you like to go first then, mate?
I would, but I don't think you've got your wish. I may have teased you earlier. So, Nick, I'm not going to lie, buddy. I went on my holiday. I switched off. And then I came back to work today. And on my lunch break, I was sat with Jasmine. It was only 13, may I add. And I said, Jasmine, we need to think of a would you rather for Nick. Now, some of the ones she had were far worse than what Tracy had, and far worse than what I had. But it did give me a little idea. Now, on our last show, buddy, you were very unhappy that Roger Craig was once again overlooked for the Hall of Fame. We spent a lot of time talking about it. Our good friend Mark Adams is doing a great job out there, raising awareness to get Roger Craig rightly where he should be.
Right.
For this segment, you're in luck. Canton have been listening to the 49er Faithful UK live and they're going to give you the opportunity to correct the wrong that you feel so strongly about. So that is right, Nick. As it stands at the moment, you are going to have the power to put Roger Craig in the Hall of Fame.
Great. What's the caveat?
But this segment is called Would You Rather. It is quite simple, Nick. As it stands at the moment, there are 28 49ers in the Hall of Fame. So Canton can't let you add a 29th at the moment. So what they've allowed you to do is you can put Roger Craig in there, but you have to take one out. So your Would You Rather is very simple. You leave the 28 that are already in there, and your boy Roger Craig has to wait another year, or you can put him straight in there. But if you're taking someone out, we need to know who. And that, my friend, is this week's Would You Rather.
And that's all we got time for this evening, folks. Thank you all very, very much for joining us. That's 46 minutes of our friendship, and it's done. That is officially the end. No. How can I take anyone out? That's the issue I have here. It's not putting him in. Putting him in isn't a problem in any way, shape, or form. There isn't anyone I can take out. There just isn't. You know, you go back through 49ers history. I'm going to cling on to one thing you've just said. And that's that he has to wait another year.
I say it wasn't all evil. I'm glad you were listening because I threw that bit in there. So, Colin.
Colin, I'm in. Yeah, OJ's gone. OJ's gone. Roger's in. OJ's gone. Roger's in. I changed my mind.
So, Colin, I was not going to put the list of all 28 up there because I thought that was the name that jumped off to me. I know the trade wasn't as well received at the time, but all jokes aside,
there you go.
I wanted to kind of, yeah. So you've backtracked. So now OJ's gone.
He's gone.
Craig is in.
Gone.
Yeah.
He's in. All right. Sorted. We put the world to rights. Happy days. Thank you, Colin. I'll if you're at the next meeting, mate, I'll buy you a pint for that. Thank you very much, sir.
So over to you, Nick, because I have a feeling you may not be as nice as you make out.
Well,
you've waited for this. I can tell that.
As it happens. Well, I got a little bit of practice in. I gave Ted a bit of an evil one on last week. Now, I know you said about Mike earlier on. Mike has switched sides. Oh. He's come to the light side of the Force. He has left the Sith behind. He doesn't want to be a Sith anymore. He wants to be here. Don't apologize, Colin. Don't. No. You're on my side now. My side.
It's all love, Colin. It's all love.
But Mike has been in contact with me this week. And he's dropped me a little would you rather for you. So, I think it's kind of nice, actually, given that you have been on holiday. So it's all there. So, Paul, you have won an all expenses paid trip for one person anywhere in the world. It must be when the Super Bowl is on. The 49ers are playing, but you're not allowed to go to the city where it's being played, and you're not allowed to watch the game. Or you can go on a family holiday to everyone's favorite in the UK, Butlins. Everyone likes Butlins. You know, little shallow pool that doesn't get much past your shins, where you must enter all of the dad competitions. Knobbly knees the lot. You got them all. But they're going to have the Super Bowl watch party. It's just going to be you and 6 Seahawk fans watching the game. What are you going to take, Paul?
Well, Mike may have missed a trick because if I'm listening correctly, it was an all expenses paid trip for one person. Is that correct? True. See, Tracy, I couldn't leave you at home, darling. I know you're watching. He said 2 people, all expenses paid anywhere. Because we had this conversation in Palmer. The gold mine question came up again, and me and Lee had a bit of a chat. But as I've said many times, when I go out to California, it's going to be for a couple of weeks. I want to experience the gold mine, and I want to experience sitting in the stands. I'm smiling because you mentioned Butlins. I'm going to replace Butlins with Haven. So
No.
our first family holiday was Haven. I'm just saying. Similar.
I'm offering Butlins. But I'm offering Butlins.
To be honest, I'm smiling because you said the dad competitions. I thought you knew me by now. When we went on these Haven holidays, I had the Borsa on and I was on that stage and I was doing all of them to win the kids' prizes. So the fact that I couldn't watch the Super Bowl, and of course, I'll be watching the Super Bowl with Seahawks fans, the Niners would be representing. So I'm selecting option 2 of Mike's choice. But what would have made it?
Well, I'm glad you said that.
Well, no, there was no caveat at the
end.
No,
there is. There's more. There's more. This is Mike's Would You Rather now. There might be rules between me and you, but this is the Thunderdome now. Right. This is Mike's Would You Rather.
So I've selected the option. So
you've selected option number 2.
And now Nick, everybody, has added an extra option, which will add to the dynamics moving forward of this segment.
Nick. Mike.
Can't wait.
Mike,
I cannot wait
this is the Thunderdome. This is the Thunderdome, baby. No, this is Mike's. This isn't me. There are rules between you and I. That is it. Now, you ready? Sure. Okay. Well, one of the competitions you entered, Paul, was the loudest cheer, and you won it. Now,
yeah, that's not a surprise.
Well, the prize happens to have been 2 tickets to the city where the Super Bowl is. But it's only you that can go. Now, however, you've rocked up in the city. And as it happens, I'm there. Lee is there. Najee's there. And Gareth's there. You've got a spare ticket.
Oh.
Who are you taking into the game, Paul?
See, you're right, Simon. Look at him. Now, that is a taste of my own medicine because I hit you with something similar. It is. So I was going to say, because I thought I was going to go a different way, because when you said I was going to get to go to the city and watch the Super Bowl, I joke aside about Tracy, she would have no problem. If I was offered a ticket to go to Super Bowl and the Niners were there, she'd be like, you'd be going. So out of the 3 of you,
4.
4? Oh, yeah. There's 5 of us, isn't there? Aim is 5. So I've got my ticket in there. So I can't get used to. So there's no rules about rock, paper, scissors or me getting to, because all of you,
you've got to choose. You've got to choose.
Well, I may surprise you with this answer, everyone. Everybody's thinking that I would pick El Presidente. People may think that I would take my good friend Najee Carrara. And how can I leave out the main man, that is Gareth Ellis? That said, I would take you, because could you imagine the would you rather after we've both beaten the Super Bowl? But no, that was a good twist. So Simon's put in there. We've seen Shrek with Rumpelstiltskin in. So you've made a deal with them to make sure the 49ers win the Super Bowl, but you have to wear something specific once a week. A Leeds top. Do you agree? I would have no problem wearing a Leeds top if it meant the Niners won the Super Bowl. But anyway, I would take you.
I'd wear something over the top. I'd do it. Thank you very much, Paul. I know that's just purely to claim that you're not evil. We know that's not the case. There'll be a DM later, no doubt.
Lee Gowland. What's Lee Gowland? Gareth Ellis.
Yeah. I'll have a DM, no doubt, later on going, I'm not taking you, mine. That was just for the show. No doubt about that at all.
Well, Mike, no wonder you popped in and said you would watch back. But all jokes aside, we did say a couple of weeks ago that anybody who had a would you rather were more than happy to play along.
Bring them in.
As we've said, we've had a couple of breaks over the last few weeks, but we're all full steam ahead now. Normal service is resumed. So Tuesdays, 8 p.m.
all the way through.
We will be here. And we have a few ideas for the would you rather, haven't we, Nick? We discussed these off air last time. So we will leave people with that teaser. Before we finish off, Nick, I've just remembered me and you have talked a lot about flag football, and we do just need to say congratulations to the ladies. Team GB, captained by Kelly Barrett. Phoebe Schechter was playing for them. She's a good friend, the 49erFaithfulUK. They won the European Championships in Spain. I watched live. It was an awesome game. Walk-off touchdown from Phoebe Schechter, and it was awesome to see these people that I have seen play flag football live. I've talked to up at Ravenscraig. I've interacted with on social media, but they are officially the best ladies flag football team in Europe. I think the gentlemen team finished 6th overall, but given that they
really
were
well
an unranked
themselves as well,
team to come through, I think they got knocked out by Austria by 1 point, and Austria got to the final and were beaten, obviously, by the eventual winners, Germany. But flag football, I got into that sport thanks to you. You've been a big supporter of mine. And it was just, I had goosebumps, and I've only been involved in this sport for about 12 months, for about a year. So for you, who's been involved a lot longer than me, seeing a Team GB team win that European Championships must have been something special, buddy.
It was awesome. It was amazing. Like you said, they did so well, and they're the best in Europe. Now they can go and conquer the world. Go on, ladies. Go and show us how it's done. Go show us how it's done. Go for it.
I think it's next year. The World's in Finland, and I think they beat Finland. And
not
obviously, for people who follow myself and Nick on social media, we did share the love. Phoebe reached out and said thank you, which was always a nice touch, because I can imagine her DMs went through the roof. And it would be a miss for me not to mention that we did cheekily allude to the London meetup at the start of the show. So as I said, that's in 7 weeks, 54 days time. All we know, people, is it will be in London. We don't know the venue yet, but do please keep an eye on our social media. Once we know, you guys will know. And obviously, the season's about to start. The podcast will be kicking back in. 49erFaithfulUK Live will be here every Tuesday, 8 p.m, 12 noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And is there anything else on that schedule of yours, Nick, before we let these good people get on out of here?
No, I think we have exhausted everything. Guys, we want to say thank you again for joining us this lovely Tuesday evening. And it has been a lovely Tuesday. Paul, would you rather aside, it's been lovely to have you back, mate. It's nice to talk ball again with you. But there's only one thing left to say, really, guys. Go Niners.
He loves it, really, people. Go Niners.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in our heart, like Joe Montana in the corner.